The night her parents died, her world burned with them. Amara was only 16 when fate ripped everything away from her. She had grown up in a small but warm home in the outskirts of Lagos. Her father, a bus driver, always came home smelling of dust and fuel, but with laughter in his voice. Her mother, a market woman, kept the house alive with the scent of fried plantains and the rhythm of her songs. They were poor, but they were rich with love. But one stormy evening, as rain battered the rusted tin roof, a knock came at the door. It wasn't her father's cheerful voice calling out. It was a stranger, wet, shaking, and holding a cap in his hands. His voice trembled as he spoke the words that would change her forever. "There's been an accident. I'm so sorry." The world blurred. Her knees gave way. She remembered her mother screaming, her neighbors rushing in, the lantern falling and shattering, and the rain outside pouring as if the heavens themselves were mourning. Within a day, both her parents were gone, one taken by a bus accident, the other collapsing from the shock. Amara became an orphan overnight. At first, relatives promised to take her in. They patted her head, wept with her, swore to care for her like their own. But grief soon turned into whispers about money, mouths to feed, and burdens. Her father had no savings, her mother no property. There was no inheritance, only debts. Within weeks, she found herself sleeping on the floor of an aunt's house, used as a servant more than a niece. Every dawn, she was sent to fetch water from the well, scrub floors until her hands cracked, and hawk groundnuts in the streets under the sun. But even that small refuge didn't last. One day, after losing some money to a pickpocket while selling, her aunt screamed, calling her cursed. She was thrown out with nothing but the clothes on her back. The streets welcomed her with cold arms. The streets at night were alive with shadows and voices. Neon lights flickered, cars honked, and music blared from roadside bars. Amara wandered barefoot, clutching her thin wrapper tightly. Hungry and terrified, she slept under shop canopies, curled beside strangers who had nothing but dirt as their mattress. Hunger gnawed at her belly, and shame pressed down on her like a stone. But the streets were not kind. Older women with painted lips and tired eyes watched her closely. Men, drunk and leering, whispered offers that made her shiver. "Pretty girl, come with me. I'll give you money. I'll give you food." At first, she ran. She refused. She told herself she would never, ever fall into that life. But hunger has a way of crushing pride. One night, after 3 days without food, Amara sat on a bench near a smoky buka. The smell of fried meat nearly drove her insane. A man in his late 30s sat beside her. He was tall, dark-skinned, with rings on his fingers and a shiny gold chain. His cologne mixed with the stench of alcohol. "You're too beautiful to be suffering like this," he murmured. "Come with me. Just one night. I'll take care of you." Her heart pounded. She wanted to say no. She wanted to scream. But when he pulled out crisp Naira notes, the hunger in her stomach screamed louder than her conscience. That night, Amara entered a world she never thought she would. The morning after, she sat alone, clutching the money in her trembling hands. She hated herself. She cried until her throat was raw. But then she bought food. She ate until her stomach stopped aching. For the first time in weeks, she felt full. And with that came the cruelest truth. The streets had found her weakness. Every day after, the temptation grew stronger. Some nights she resisted, curling into herself under the broken streetlights. But other nights, the gnawing hunger returned, and the same men came back with their cruel smiles and empty promises. And slowly, slowly, the shame turned into survival. Weeks turned into months. Amara was no longer the shy girl who wept at every choice. She learned how to walk with a sway, how to speak with false confidence, how to hide the cracks in her soul. She painted her lips red with cheap lipstick, wore second-hand heels too big for her feet, and stood under the streetlights with the others. But inside, she was still that broken girl, haunted by the memory of her parents' laughter and her mother's warm embrace. Every time she looked in the mirror, she whispered to herself, "Mama, Papa, forgive me." The street had claimed her, but her heart still longed for love, for hope, for something beyond survival. And then, one evening, as she stood at her usual corner, a car slowed down. But this time, it wasn't the lustful gaze she was used to. Behind the tinted glass, a pair of eyes studied her with curiosity, almost recognition. The car lingered longer than usual before driving off. She didn't know it yet, but this stranger would change everything. The car kept coming back. At first, Amara thought it was her imagination, but night after night, as she stood by the dim streetlight with other girls, she noticed it. The same sleek black car rolling slowly past. The tinted window would lower slightly, just enough for her to catch a glimpse of eyes watching her. Not with hunger, not with disgust, but with something else she couldn't name. One evening, the car stopped. Her heart hammered in her chest. She prepared herself for the usual, the fake smiles, the bargaining, the pretending. But when the man stepped out, she froze. He wasn't like the others. He wore a clean white shirt, no chains, no drunken swagger. His face was sharp yet calm, his eyes deep and searching. He looked too refined to be in this place. "Your name?" he asked softly, his voice steady. Amara hesitated. She never gave real names. But something about his tone pulled the truth from her lips. "Amara." The man studied her for a long moment. Then, instead of his usual question, "How much?" he simply said, "You don't belong here." Amara was stunned. Every other man she met reduced her to a price. But this one? He looked at her as if he saw more than the painted lips and borrowed heels. "I don't know what you're looking for," she whispered nervously. "But if you're not here for what I offer, then leave." Instead of leaving, he asked, "Have you eaten today?" Her throat tightened. Nobody asked her that. Not since her parents. She wanted to lie, to shrug it off. But hunger betrayed her. She shook her head. He handed her a bag. Warm jollof rice wrapped in nylon, with grilled chicken. Her stomach growled loudly, embarrassing her. "Eat," he said simply. Amara ate with trembling hands, tears pricking her eyes. The man stood silently, watching, as if he had all the time in the world. When she finished, he said only one thing before walking back to his car. "I'll see you again, Amara." And he did. Every night, the black car returned. Sometimes he brought food, sometimes clean clothes, sometimes just silence and conversation. His name, she eventually learned, was Chaik. But Chaik never touched her, never asked for what every other man demanded. Instead, he asked questions about her parents, her dreams, the girl she was before the streets claimed her. At first, Amara kept her walls high, but slowly, his kindness chipped away at them. She found herself laughing at his dry jokes, telling him stories about her mother's cooking, her father's bus rides, her childish dreams of becoming a nurse. And each time, Chaik listened as though her words were precious gems. But the streets are not kind to miracles. Other girls began to notice. "Who is he, Amara?" one asked bitterly. "Rich men don't come here unless they want something. Don't fool yourself." "He's playing you," another sneered. "Soon he'll show his true face." Amara wanted to believe they were wrong. But at night, curled under her thin wrapper, doubts haunted her. Why would a man like Chaik waste his time on her? What did he really want? And yet, she couldn't deny the strange warmth that grew inside her chest whenever his car appeared. One night, Chaik parked farther away than usual and gestured for her to come. She slid into the car nervously. The leather seat smelled clean, so unlike the smoke and sweat she was used to. "Why are you doing this?" she finally asked. He looked at her for a long time before answering. "Because I see someone who deserves more than this." Her throat tightened. No one had said words like that to her in years. But before she could respond, her past came crashing in. A drunk man staggered toward the car, one of her regulars. His face twisted with anger when he saw her inside. "So this is why you refused me tonight?" he roared. "Think you're better than us now, eh?" Because of him. Before Amara could move, he yanked the car door open and tried to drag her out. Fear shot through her, but Chaik's hand was faster. In one swift motion, Chaik shoved the man back, his calm eyes flashing with steel. "Don't touch her again," he warned. His voice was quiet, but it carried a dangerous weight that silenced the drunk instantly. The man stumbled away, cursing. Amara sat frozen, heart racing. For the first time, she realized Chaik was not just kind. He was powerful. Days turned into weeks. Slowly, Chaik began to reveal slivers of his life. She noticed the expensive watch on his wrist, the way other men bowed their heads respectfully when his car passed. He spoke with confidence, the kind only men of wealth carried. One evening, Amara asked bluntly, "Who are you really?" He smiled faintly. "Just someone who believes people can rise again, no matter how far they've fallen." But she wasn't blind. She knew there was more. Then came the night that changed everything. Chaik didn't bring food or clothes. Instead, he parked in front of her and asked one simple question. "Amara, if I gave you a chance to leave this life, would you take it?" Her chest tightened. Hope and fear battled inside her. Leave? Was that even possible? The streets had swallowed her whole. "What do you mean?" she whispered. "I mean," he said steadily, "I can help you. But you must decide. Do you want to keep surviving here or start living again?" Amara's hands trembled. She thought of her parents, of the nights she cried herself to sleep, of the shame that clung to her skin. For the first time in years, she dared to imagine a different future. But doubt clawed at her. Why would he help her? What if he was lying? What if this was just another trap? Her silence stretched on until Chaik finally leaned closer. His voice dropped to a whisper. "Think carefully, Amara, because if you choose me, your life will never be the same again." And with those words, he left her trembling beneath the streetlight, torn between fear and the fragile spark of hope he had lit inside her. Amara didn't sleep that night. Chaik's words echoed in her mind. "If you choose me, your life will never be the same again." But how could she trust him? She had trusted before, men who promised protection, men who whispered sweet lies, and every time, she was left broken, humiliated, and abandoned. And yet, something about Chaik was different. The next evening, when his car rolled to a stop, she didn't hesitate. She walked straight to the passenger's side and climbed in. Her voice trembled, but her decision was clear. "I'm ready." Chaik's eyes flickered with something unreadable relief. Pride? Before he simply nodded. "Then hold on tight, Amara, because everything is about to change." The car sped through the city, away from the flickering streetlights, away from the shadows of her past. Amara pressed her forehead to the cool glass, heart racing. For the first time in years, she was leaving that corner, her prison, her cage. "Where are we going?" she asked nervously. "Somewhere safe," Chaik replied. "Somewhere you can breathe again." The car pulled into a gated compound, guarded and immaculate. When the gate opened, Amara gasped. The house before her was not just big, it was majestic. White walls, manicured lawns, fountains that sparkled under the moonlight. It looked like something out of the movies, a world she didn't belong to. She turned to him in shock. "Chaik, who are you?" This time, he didn't avoid the question. "I own this house, and many others. I'm not just a man with a car, Amara. I'm a businessman, a billionaire." The word struck her like thunder. She stumbled back a step, shaking her head. "No, no, this can't be real. Men like you don't pick girls like me." Chaik stepped closer, his voice low but steady. "I didn't pick a girl from the streets. I picked you. Because I saw fire in your eyes that the world tried to kill. Because you remind me of something I lost a long time ago." Inside, the mansion gleamed with chandeliers and marble floors. Yet, instead of showing off his wealth, Chaik led her to a small dining table with a simple meal, steamed rice, vegetables, and stew. She ate slowly, still suspicious. He watched her with calm patience. Finally, she couldn't hold it in. "Why me? Why feed me? Why'd save me?" Chaik's jaw tightened. His eyes grew distant, haunted. "Years ago," he began softly, "my sister, she was like you. Bright, beautiful, full of dreams. But when my parents died, the world was cruel. She ended up on the streets. I was too late to save her. By the time I found her, she was gone." His voice cracked, just slightly, and Amara's chest ached. "You remind me of her," he whispered. "And I swore if I ever saw someone walking the same path, I wouldn't fail again." Tears blurred Amara's vision. For the first time in years, she realized someone wasn't looking at her as broken, but as worth saving. But change is never easy. Days turned into weeks as Amara adjusted to life inside the mansion. Clean clothes, warm food, safety. It felt like a dream. But with comfort came fear. She wasn't used to kindness. Every gift made her suspicious. Every smile made her wonder, when will it all be taken away? One night, while staring at her reflection in the massive bathroom mirror, she whispered bitterly to herself, "You'll never belong here. You'll always be that girl from the corner." And yet, Chike never treated her that way. He gave her tutors to help her read and write better. He introduced her to art, to books, to possibilities she never imagined. He told her she was capable of anything. Still, doubt gnawed at her heart. Just when Amara began to believe in a new future, the past came knocking. One evening, as she walked in the garden, she heard a familiar voice sneer behind her. "Well, well, look who's living like a queen now." Her blood froze. It was the same drunk man Chike had warned before, the one who used to pay for her. "How did you get in here?" she hissed. He smirked, waving a phone. "Money talks. Gates open. And you, don't think you can run from who you really are. Everyone will know what you were. A cheap street girl." Her heart pounded. Shame threatened to crush her. But before he could step closer, Chike appeared. His presence was like a storm breaking the sky. "Leave," Chike said, his voice sharp with authority. The man sneered. "What? You think she's pure now? She's nothing but trash." Before he could finish, Chike grabbed him by the collar and shoved him toward the gate. His voice thundered. "Don't ever speak her name again, or you'll regret it." The man fled, cursing, but Amara was left trembling. Tears spilled down her cheeks. "See," she cried, "that's who I am, Chike. No matter how hard I try, I can't erase it. I'll always be dirty. I'll always be shameful." Chike's face softened. He stepped closer, cupping her face gently. "No, Amara. You are not what happened to you. You are not the names they called you. You are more." Her sobs broke, and for the first time, she allowed herself to collapse into his arms. From that day, something shifted. Amara stopped hiding from her past. Instead, with Chike's support, she began to heal. She attended therapy. She studied tirelessly. She dreamed again. And in time, she did something even more powerful. She went back to the streets, not to return, but to save others. With Chike's help, she opened a shelter for young girls who had nowhere to go, a safe haven she wished she had when her world crumbled. The same streets that once caged her now became the ground where she planted seeds of hope. One evening, as the shelter buzzed with laughter and chatter, Amara stood beside Chike, watching the girls eat and play. She turned to him, her voice full of gratitude. "Why me, Chike? Out of everyone you could have chosen, why did you stop your car that night?" Chike smiled faintly, his eyes glistening with something deeper than words. "Because sometimes, Amara, the broken ones shine the brightest. I didn't just save you. You saved me too." Amara's chest tightened, tears welling in her eyes. For the first time, she believed him. For the first time, she believed in herself. She was no longer the girl abandoned on a street corner. She was a survivor, a fighter, a woman reborn. And with Chike by her side, she knew her story was only beginning.